Okay, it worked. The meeting is being live streamed.
Okay. Do we have to check also on LinkedIn? Let me check. Was it live?
Live stream.
Yes, it is streaming. Okay.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad you could join. And that's Pariya there and Sudha's profile.
Hi, Paria. How is college?
Yes, I'm doing well. It's going well. How are you doing?
All the very best.
Thank you.
Reach out to me if you want any help with your assignments, exams.
Okay, thank you, Yash.
So Pariya, you are now in a dorm or at home?
No, I'm in the dorm right now.
Okay. All right. So we are live streaming, so we should mute ourselves. Okay. So we will wait for another 5 minutes and then start. Thank you, Pariya. Thank you so much for coming and joining us this early to make sure everything is working. I'm going to make Yash also a co-host. That way.
Good morning, Susanna.
Good morning, Suresh.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Susanna.
Good morning, Suresh.
Hey, good to see you.
Why I'm hearing?
Good morning, Susanna.
Good morning, Suresh.
Hey, good to see you.
Why I'm hearing?
Good morning, Susanna.
Good morning, Suresh. Did I hear that several times over?
Yeah, it seems that I think this even happened before with Sneha. And
oh my goodness.
That was a lot of good mornings for sure.
It felt like Groundhog Day, we were living through that many times over. Oh, I think we should start, but others are not joining. Is there something else we need to do, Pariya? Or I
think usually the Google Calendar sends out the meeting link a couple of hours before. So
okay.
then I can send it out again right now, just as a reminder.
Yeah, maybe that would help. Let's give a 1 minute or 2 minutes and then we can start.
Maybe people are joining on the LinkedIn. Susanna,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
are you able to see?
That's what I'm trying to see. Let me go. Yeah, it is going live there. But not seeing people joining. Yes, 2 people are watching. Okay.
Yeah, I sent a link on LinkedIn as well. Connectivity for someone on LinkedIn as well. So we'll.
Okay. Hey, hello, Body Raj. Welcome. So we will get started. Welcome everyone to this weekly WED session. I am hosting today on behalf of Sudha Jante and Pariya. They have asked me to come and talk about this event that I was a part of, which was called Can AI Heal Us? It was a very provocative titled event, unlike any other, and Sudha really liked how it was done, and she was interested in diving into the topic a little bit because that whole event was about the humanities, the arts and the literature and the other parts of the AI revolution that we don't talk about that much. As everyone knows, I do come from psychology background, so that is how I got into artificial intelligence. So this was a great initiative by the House of Beautiful Business and by Acosta Institute, and it was held in New York at the Columbia University. I wanted to ask that question from everyone here. What do you guys think about the question, can AI heal us? Anyone who wants to go?
So I think we are not at a point of understanding the ramifications or implications of the AI that's happening for us. I think after that is when I think we'll see the healing. That's my understanding or thought process, but I'll wait to hear from others as well.
Yes, I think to a great extent. So how do you think it can heal us?
Susanna, when we talk about any of the mental illnesses, there is a therapy, there is somebody giving us therapy, there is some medicine for that, or there's a book for that. Techniques, there are various techniques for the different mental illnesses. What I strongly feel is if engineers and psychologists come together, they can create these products, mental health products, which will enable a therapist at home. Now, if we want to go to a therapy, it has to be in a hospital. But what if the therapist is at home at beck and call? What if AI can know what to do in case somebody is feeling suicidal, if somebody is feeling down, if somebody is disturbed, what is to be done? If the software can do that as a first responder and then connect them to the hospital, I see a lot of potential in it.
So you are thinking of AI in this case as a first responder who is giving the initial first aid based on available data that, for a particular disorder or a mental health issue. And then it actually brings you to a qualified physician. So that's one way you are thinking that AI can be incorporated into the mental health industry, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good example of how AI can heal us. I do appreciate that. But the question is, the way I responded, not on the panel itself, but in our we were asked to write an essay, is that AI is something. Thank you, Pariya. AI is something that I wouldn't say it's just a mere tool, but it is one of the inventions that human beings have come up with that we are trying to use to enhance our lives in multiple ways. Just like right now we are on Zoom, we are able to enhance our lives through this and communicate with people who are not even in the same time zone, who may be in different geographical locations. It's the same way I felt like it can only do that, but can it actually heal us? Because I went back and looked at the constructs, definitions of healing. What does healing mean? If you would just, take a look at that word itself and come back to me and say, what is healing? How do you break down healing in your own definitions? No takers?
Yeah, I can go. I was just wanting to give room for others.
Okay.
According to me, healing is, there is a set of symptoms that we see, and then we diagnose it as a particular mental illness. And then if we were to track those symptoms and we see diminishing, then we say the person is being healed. And if there are lesser incidents, if there is a lesser number of incidents, a lesser number of symptoms that are flared up. See, here I'm trying to quantify healing by telling that we can quantify healing and tell that, yes, the person is better than before by using these trackers.
Okay. So that's basically how the current medical industry itself works. We track and measure the symptoms. When somebody is sick, or somebody who needs healing comes to a physician, they only look at the symptoms that they come with, and when those symptoms disappear, it is understood that healing has taken place. That's a very metric-oriented approach of looking at healing. And that's okay, because we are not, when you're in a hospital, you are not there to, redesign your entire life. You are there to get rid of whatever is ailing you and come back better. But the whole idea of healing is not actually a metric-oriented definition. It's not about measuring symptoms, negative symptoms that you have, and then the elimination of negative symptoms is actually considered as healing. That's not how the humanities or we in psychology define healing. Because healing is about, if you are in a place where you have been made sick, and then you need to be restored back to the place before there was ever any sickness. And it's not just the mere absence of the symptoms being gone. So it could be your fever is gone, your headache is gone, or whatever that has been ailing you as been taken away. But before that, long before that, when you are in optimum health, when you are taken back to that is considered healing. The reason I am making this connection is the whole idea of artificial intelligence. We all know its benefits. We all know it's not going away. We all know it's going to stay here, and we have to all find a way to enhance and use that in our lives. Make sure that it doesn't inhibit human evolution as such. So we are there, but artificial intelligence, the development of it actually has made the planet in many ways more sicker. I mean, it's every 12 billion, some billions of gallons of water is used to cool off those data centers. And sometimes whenever you are having a talk with ChatGPT, it consumes as much as half a liter to 1 liter of water every single time for a 15-minute conversation with ChatGPT. Now imagine and multiply that by millions of people who are now using it and going to be using it, and AI, LLM models are going to get larger and larger. So these data centers, developmental centers that are there, that are hosting those, machines, those blocks, are using the resources that are already so limited on Earth for humans, and diminishing their access. So in terms of that, looking at Earth, we have not reached healing. And AI cannot heal something that it has caused. So my whole argument there was that go ahead. Hello? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. You're going to say something? Okay. So in terms of, doing that, we were talking about how we were the ones who built the railways. We were the ones who built planes. We were the ones who modified transportation to our needs. Why is it that we are not able to see this as one more invention that is going to help humanity, but also do it in a way that does not cause more harm than what it has already caused? And if we already know that it's going to cause harm in these areas, then how can we reduce it? How can we push back on that revolution to make sure that it is compatible with our planet, compatible with our human needs? So that's one area of healing that we were, approaching that topic. But on the other area is that it was, as you guys have been on my webinars many times, where I talk about how AI is not inclusive, it's not diverse. So in that way, it has left out many people and has started to actually harm them in ways. It's not one thing to leave out somebody, but when it starts to actually be used in loans, in student applications, in housing loans, in jobs, in hiring, every place it is being causing harm. That's one other thing. It's not just I'm not going to include you in the data set, but I'm going to make an effort to exclude you. So it is not actually doing that with a motive or anything, because AI is not conscious, but we have fed it with data that is already biased, and now that we are seeing the fruits of that mistake. So how can you start talking about healing there? How do you define healing in that space, in those two spaces, in terms of the environmental concerns and in terms of racial and other inclusions, ethnicity inclusions, language inclusions? When you talk about healing there, where is that healing where was the optimum health, and how can we go back to that, and how can we reduce the harms going forward? So that is what I would like to hear from all of you, to see what you guys think on those two angles. Yes, go ahead, Yash.
Susanna, you told about a very important problem about healing. How can we go back to a point where we are good? So can we use machine learning to use these places where it has learned the bias? It has learned to bias. It could be racial bias. It could be gender bias. It has learned the bias. But if we can use machine learning techniques and go back to a time where it wasn't biased, maybe then we have solved the problem of AI being biased. So I feel bias mitigation and bias eradication is what is required.
Okay. So what is machine unlearning? So basically what we do, we ask the machine to unlearn what it has already learned.
Yeah, the data with which it has learned, we want it to forget that data and perform the same functions, but without that knowledge of that data.
Okay.
It's like I tell, this is a cat, this is a dog, and if I remove the information about cats, if I show a picture of a cat, it should not be able to recognize that it's a cat. So that's from vision. So based on that, we can have examples in NLP, in recommender systems, and all of that. Say in recommender system, we can forget recommendations. That is, we have a set of people and they have given a recommendation, and now we want to forget a subset of the recommendations given by a certain set of people. Then we can use the machine learning technique to go back such that the learned recommendations do not exist in that set.
Okay. So that does work for bias mitigation, but how will we solve the problem of environmental concerns?
Okay. Can I go?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. What I think is, I'll just draw an analogy to what you mentioned earlier. The steam engines. First, we came up with steam engines, which used a lot of coal.
Yes.
Over time, human beings came up with newer technologies, and now we have bullet trains which use electricity. But yes, it does use energy, but in a different form. Similarly, the data centers that are there Currently, they may be using gallons of water to cool it, but there could be some scientist sitting in some lab worried about this and thinking, I should make a difference. I should bring in this change wherein the data center can cool with less amount of water, some technology which will enhance the storage. See, initially we used to have floppy disks, then CD-ROMs, then now we have all the hard disks, terabytes, petabytes, and all that. But when we started off, it was just KBs.
Yeah.
So some scientist may come up with some innovation and invention in the storage space where all these models are stored and the compute is there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that should be our main focus, right? Still most of the electric trains do use coal, but in another form. But at least we were not polluting the environment as much as we used to. And there are now emission controls in all the cars, in all the trains, and that we know that we don't have an environment that is polluted. Especially in countries that do have those emission controls implemented and enforced. In the same way, we do have to somehow that we cannot wait for that lone scientist somewhere in a lab somewhere to come up with an idea, but the people who are actually benefiting from artificial intelligence in millions of dollars have to actually find that scientist in the lab somewhere. If he or she doesn't exist, then they need to put together a team to work on solving this problem, because this should be prioritized. Water, one of the resources that we have, water cannot be replicated. Once you use it, it's gone. Some of those water reservoirs are not going to come back. So that's one area that we need to push as a responsible AI ethicist, or as an accountability ethicist. We have to push those organizations, and even as a public, we have to push them to say, are you working on this problem? When are you going to work? How much of your money is being spent on this problem? And what are you doing in terms of abiding by existing regulations? And how are you informing the public? Some of the companies did not even inform their own cities and states about the water consumption. It came out through third party investigation that they were the largest consumers of water within that city or within that state. When the people were asked to stop watering their lawns, they were, even when people were stopped watering their lawns, all our lawns went dry. And when we were asked to buy native plants and not have other plants that are heavy on water resources. None of those things would have helped, because the largest consumer was one of those companies in that state, in that city. So it's a thing that, as a public, we need to be informed. So one of those areas of, healing processes is through regulations and also public outcry, asking that these are information that needs to be publicly shared, more widely distributed. And we also need to ask, how are you working on these problems? And if you are not working on them, why? Why not? So if you are the largest consumer of waters in our city, if we consume a lot of water, we would have to pay more. And sometimes they would start, limiting water supplies in some states, not in California, at least. So how about we start implementing that? Because a corporate company is also an entity, but corporate companies are wanting to be recognized as citizens and have the same power as citizens and the same rights as citizens. So then you are not a responsible citizen, and we may have to, limit your water usage. Things like that are something that we should be debating every day, talking, writing, If you are in any platform right now, and however small your platform is, you need to research this, read about it. I can share more links if you want, and then just start sharing it with people. Do you know that this is how much water is being used? Do you know how our environment is being destroyed? Why are the companies not doing it? If you're working in a company, start asking them. That is the one layer of healing in terms of environmental concerns, I believe. We can wait. There will always be a solution. And even now, I'm sure there is a solution in which we can reduce the environmental impact of water usage. And people are already talking about it. How about building more smaller foundational models or more dedicated centers that are very specific to use cases, and not just train these large language models which consume a lot more water to cool off. So we need to think of all those things, and we need to ask those questions, and we need to make sure that the companies are allocating a good portion of their money towards that cause. For me, when healing, as I told you, is that there is no, you can't say what is the optimum state of health for Earth. Probably before humans came on, that would be millions of years ago. That would have been the optimum state of health for as far as Earth is concerned. But then you could come back, and after the evolution of how humans have come, and then you could see that even as far as the 17th century, 16th century, we didn't have this much of environmental pollution and damage. But then we can say, you can't stop innovation. This is actually one of the, mantras that everyone shouts. We can't stop innovation. Innovation must continue. But innovation has always been molded and shaped to fit into our lives. It is not this outside entity that is, either washes over us and then we all take it in. Innovation, whether it's a development of a vaccine or a development of a medicine, or, some tool, or, something that, is helping us live a better life. It has always been through looking at the human needs and looking at the environmental concerns and looking at how we can easily, help. Take for cancer, for example, like back then, cancer treatments were so harsh, like literally to kill the cancer cells, they were just dumping poison into people. More than before the cancer could kill them, the treatment killed them. So, that's how we have come so far from that now, that our cancer treatments are actually more tolerable. So we didn't just say, oh, yeah, it's okay. I know it does, but that's the only way. We have managed to innovate it in a way that it doesn't impact the human in a bad way while trying to save them from something else. Yes, Yash, go ahead.
While you mentioned this, I remembered the recent movie Oppenheimer, where they show how he is morally feeling. The whole movie was not just about science, it was about moral, and it was about ethics.
Yes.
He keeps thinking whether what he did was right or wrong, whether he's doing the right thing. And while he did the project at Lamos, he didn't know the gravity of the situation, that it will be in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, how it will be. Generally, scientists, when they're doing just mainly for the joy of curiosity, for the joy of innovation. And they do not know the ramifications of their inventions. We use nuclear energy in order to give us a form of energy instead of coal, or instead of using some other form. But yes, it did a lot of damage at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is unforgivable.
Yeah, that's actually how it is right now. Also, we just get carried away with the new gadget, with the innovation part of it, the scientific part of it. And it's exciting. I mean, to see AI now understand several languages, and now it can actually, you take this video and that it can actually talk in several different languages, mimicking my mouth movements and also my voice. I could be talking fluently in Spanish right now. They have a tool like that created. So all of those are, when we see that as an innovation milestone, it's very exciting. But I don't want to be seen somewhere speaking Spanish, because even if you play that video, I wouldn't understand what I said. So that, it could also have certain other use cases that we are not yet aware of. Just because we are not aware of doesn't mean you can say it has no evil built into it. One of the things, Oppenheimer, those are some of the stupidest inventions that we as humans made, if you ask me. Very dumb inventions we did. We ended up destroying ourselves, ended up destroying part of the, whole world. And people always debate that in history classes in humanities, like how would the world war would have ended if that bomb wasn't dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima? It would have ended some way that we would have a different history, but we would not have had that kind of loss of life and destroying an entire country like that. But we don't think of those things now. We are like, it's history now. So we are looking at it at what the possibilities could be, and we would not come up with one that is more suitable or, encouraging to us to see that could have been avoided. But it could have been avoided. So some technologies are actually prohibited from developing. One of those that I can remember is that when CRISPR technology, the gene cutting, DNA cutting, designing innovation came upon, people were excited enough to design their own babies. And that's at the time when actually regulations stepped in and stopped that from developing further. This is one example where humans altogether came together and decided, we don't want other humans designing their own babies. That's not something that's going to come out in a nicer way, because people may want all their babies to look like Kim Kardashian or, some famous movie actor. The possibility of how that could go wrong was there, so that, people, the scientists and the government regulations moved faster, stop that from taking place. Right now, I heard that in some countries it is being done illegally, but it's illegal. So that is how I feel like we should, as responsible AI advocates and AI practitioners, that we should start talking about where are the innovations that are going to go wrong, and how can we stop it before it goes wrong. And if it has already gone wrong and there has already been damage done, let's go back to the optimum level of health before that. And let's see if we can come back to that. Let's see if we can remodel our inventions to that. So that's actually how I see healing. So my take on that panel was that can AI heal us is asking the wrong party the question, because AI is not going to heal us unless we understand what healing is. We as humans have to understand who we are as humans. We haven't yet defined that. So that's why we have all these conflicting dialogues and debates online about sentient AI and conscious AI, AGI, and all of that, because we are not understanding what makes us human. Is it because I am able to predict and reason. Is that why I am a human? Is it because I am also able to generate answers? Is that why I am considered a human? So what makes me as a human being? And then once you define that, you can actually say this is, once you define the ends of that, then you can say this is not human. So that we haven't done. So we are already marching on into this revolution without an understanding of what humanity is and what are the values we want to hold on to. We haven't agreed upon that. And I think some of the conversations in the responsible AI ethics space is going towards that. It's like, let's see what makes humanity special and let's preserve that. And let's not let any innovation like artificial intelligence wipe that out or cause more harm in that arena. So in lieu of that, I'm going to ask you, or what makes you human? Suresh, you are the one that hasn't spoken in a long time.
Hey, Susanna, so that's a good question. So when you said what makes us human, I think we have a balanced value system. We do not, I think we have good and bad, which is what makes us human. But when an AI is trained, it's mainly trained on one aspect to solve a particular challenge. It may not consider other areas. I think that is what makes us human, I think.
That we are able to consider other areas.
That is right. That is right. Right. So we are not focused on, let's say, the military AI or whatever it is, right? It is all trained very targeted. But as a human being, I think, we will understand the value of life, the value of, society and things like that. I think that's what makes us human. We have the ability to, at least until now, right? Until the missions, are not there yet to take over what we are able to do right now, I think. That's what I think.
Yeah, the symbiotic relationships between concepts, between far-fetched concepts and their long-term impact. So that's something that actually makes us human. That's a good answer. So that's one of the things that we have an ability to. Yes, AI also has that ability to learn from past information and carry that as a projection to future. But that interconnection of, far-fetched concepts and seeing that impact of that and predicting that when there is no data for it to predict something like that, it fails in that region. Yes, that's a good answer. What about you, Yash?
So if you see Eastern philosophies, there is here when we talk about sentient AI and all of that, we are talking about the cognition part of it. But a human being is more than brain.
Yes.
More than the senses.
Yes.
A human being can emote. A human being can mate and produce children. A human being can form a society. There is a lot of things that a human can do, which is not just in terms of computation.
Yes.
Also, the one deviation is that if we see the three aspects, the mind, body, soul. Here, the AI that we are trying to create, we are trying to replicate the mind. We are trying to do what the mind does. But there's a body, which does a lot of things more than the mind. And there is some people believe in it, some people do not believe in it, but there is a soul, and which is something that people are still trying to understand. So a human is a lot more than just being able to talk in multiple languages.
Yes. Yeah, being able to talk, being able to reason is more than that. That the whole idea that AI can now create art. But why did we create art as humans first? What was the purpose of art in our lives? Art, music, whatever form, drama, theater, all of that is art. But what was the purpose of that? The process of creating those things helped us heal, helped us express ourselves, helped us find another avenue to relax. All of those things are unnecessary for artificial intelligence. I mean, it's going to create art. Probably it will create art better than me. But what does that mean? Like, just because it creates art better than me doesn't mean it's going to enjoy that process. Once AI starts creating art and we humans stop completely, what does that say about us? Like, our whole being is about healing through arts. So we are now taking that away, and that process is what makes us feel good. The process of creating music, the process of creating a poem, the process of creating an artwork, that is more important than the end result. People are now focusing on the end result and saying, hey, this is better than any human can create. So now AI is almost like human. But it's not, because it doesn't require the mental peace that comes from creating art, because it never lost any mental peace. That's what I think. So in terms of, some of the arguments that are being put forth, and this is a great topic for you guys to, if you are very technical and, you are in a very technical career and, have always been able to see artificial intelligence as models, algorithms, prediction, reasoning, machine learning, on all of those, come out of it and ask questions that don't actually fit into any of those buckets. And then see and define for yourselves what makes you, what makes that, special part of yourself that is, uniquely yours. It could be either, as Suresh said, being able to connect disparate items and find relationship amongst them, and making sure that you can actually predict an impact and future impact from those disparate, concepts. That's one area. Yes.
So I'm thinking, you indicating that AI should be restricted from certain aspects. Susanna.
I won't like to use the word restricted, but then redesigned. That's probably a good word, right? We redesigned the coal engine, as Ash told us right now. We redesigned a lot of the technologies we use right now. We didn't restrict them. And one of the things that, the whole designing genes was not, that a whole innovation was never restricted. Only one aspect of it, that you cannot use it to design another human being. So that was the only portion that was like a hard no. But then that whole, innovation never stopped. It actually has continued now. Now we have more gene therapeutic drugs, and everything has been made in that, using that particular scientific innovation, and it has grown also. But we realized what the hard stop is, and then we also decided to redesign it according to our, needs and our benefits. So what are the things that we need to restrict would be like definitely the environmental concerns. The impact is going to be like in in less than 5 years, we would have very disastrous impact if we don't stop today. So we need to immediately do something in that region. But the others, yes.
Susanna, so this is one thought, extension of what Yash was bringing up, right? I think Yash provoked my mind where you're saying, it's mind, body, and soul, right? So AI is about the mind right now, and there are certain fields that emulates body, but it is not connected in a better way right now, right?
Yes.
But I think if you're thinking of environmental conditions, our brain is so efficient. I heard that if we use 20 milliwatts of power for doing some process, right? Now, in your earlier part of the discussion, you were indicating, right, we use so much of resources, things like that, right? One metric to look at is, if we can somehow, bring down the usage, that is when, it could be equivalent to what a human being is, I think.
Yeah.
Right? So 20 milliwatts of power versus imagine all the power that is getting used to build a model.
Yes.
And also, I think brain is so efficient, right? So we don't keep everything in our brain, right? We have certain centers of memory where, we access it when we need it, and then we, keep it out, right? So I think that's where Yash's thinking of unlearning is a very big thing, I think, right? It's a big area of research.
Yeah.
It's a very thought-provoking, Susanna, I'm very, very happy that you're, sharing this conversation, which is amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Pat, if you want to chat or you want to, answer the previous question on what makes you human, please do so. And then I will move on to the next one, and probably in closing, as Suresh said, and also as Yash, pointed out, it's one thing to actually compare the human brain and to artificial intelligence. But yes, if you want to actually go, I believe the human brain is much more efficient, much more advanced than the current artificial intelligence systems, even the most advanced large language models. But the idea that you put forward as how efficiently the brain uses energy. So when I was taking my biology classes, I was told by the professor, your brain is one of the most selfish organs in your body. So it will basically, because it realizes that it needs to keep your entire system running, it will take every ounce of energy from everything else. It will literally shut down every other organ in your body to keep it at survival. And at the very last moment when the brain is actually not able to do it, that's when people become brain dead. So, and the heart is probably one of the most self-sacrificial organs. So this was what he was, telling me, and that has always stuck with me. But that's because the brain understands that this entire body is going to stay alive because of me. It is taking on that responsibility and taking energy. So when you are actually stressed, your brain shuts down your digestive system. So if you're stressed, you are angry, you are on a tight deadline, whatever you are eating is not going to be consumed, digested. So because your brain actually sent message already to shut down the digestive system. So like that, the brain, allocates energy to make sure that it can keep functioning, make sure that, you are kept alive. Have we discussed all this in the artificial intelligence space? Have we talked about how to allocate energy efficiently and how to make sure that the critical components of AI are the ones that are kept alive and the ones that are rarely used or, not actually given that much importance in terms of energy consumption. We are not talking like that. We are not actually bringing in other disciplines like biology and philosophy and all of those things to come back and, actually tell us how we can solve this problem as a group. So that is one of the things, I think I feel like, we just need to have more debates, more, thought-provoking discussions like this. And that will help us come up with those ideas, because I do not want to wait for that lone scientist in a lab somewhere, like Ash said. I don't think I can wait for him or her. It has to be you, me, and all of us here. We need to make sure that we find that scientist, or we become that scientist. Or if that scientist is somewhere that he really needs the resources and help, then we know we need to go give it to him or her. And then probably we will be able to actually come up with a solution fast enough. So it was a very very interesting debate for me to attend that event there, and the conversations I had with other panelists off camera also was very informative. It helped me see, like, it helped me come out of this bubble of Silicon Valley that I am also a part of, where everyone talks about the next bias mitigation tool, responsible AI, ethics tool, or whatever it is. So that's a hot topic right now, and everyone is jumping on it and talking about it. But here is another group of people that's like taking this very, very, very long view of it and asking, what makes you human? What should we preserve about humanity? What is worth preserving? What makes AI so special? What can we preserve about it? And how can we efficiently redesign and redeploy this new technology so it doesn't become like that Oppenheimer bomb, it doesn't end up destroying us. So it probably won't, but the damage that we caused, we will have millions of years to recover from. And that's not a good thing. That's not something I'm very happy about. So yeah, so that's the gist of, the discussion on can AI heal us, and what healing is, what makes us human, and what makes us sick, and what makes us healthy. So even defining that, what makes you sick, what makes you ill, and how does your brain, act when you are ill, when you are sick? How does your brain actually protect you? If you can look at the immune system and the gut immune system and the general immune system, and you see how they all work in sync to save you from an infection, to make sure, you are on a path to healing. It's amazing. There are so much that we could learn and start mimicking that in building other tools and technology that we use now. And the same thing in terms of, as you rightfully pointed out, how efficient our brain is using energy and resting energy, and how our waves are different when we are actually resting. We used to do, when I was working back then, brain waves, and actually there is a cap with a lot of leads, that you could, once you put them on at different parts of the brain, you can actually see different parts of the brain working. And if you want to do a task like move a cursor or move anything, you can see which part of your brain is actually processing that. So there's like many ways, we could take information and, do that. Bring all of it together, bring all of the disciplines together, and make sure also we have a community of people who ask questions. So if any of you have any questions to ask me, or I would definitely like to share some resources. I will do that through Sudha's, channels. So if you are following her, I will share all those resources with you. And if you want to talk or debate on how we can move this conversation forward and what you would like to do, I'm here for that. Let's have a meeting. Let's do that. So that concludes today's weekly WAD. Unless anyone has any questions, and I haven't looked at LinkedIn or YouTube, so I don't know who has asked questions there, but I will definitely follow up later on. Thank you, Pat, and thank you, Ash, and thank you, Suresh, and for all of you that is watching online. Thank you so much. So we can end.
Thank you, Susanna.